Hi everyone, my name's Ryan.
I'm Kirby.
And we are
the Brody Fam. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Today we're going to pick up where we left off last, and this is going to be the part 2 of the story time on how we met.
We left off with me having an epiphany. Such a weird word. Anyways, it's a weird word.
I seriously was like, yes, honey, it's a weird word. That's so funny.
I was like, seriously... take number 3. That was planned in my head.
If you don't know what we're talking about, you can go back and watch the part 1. We'll have it linked in the iCard above.
Can you all hear the fish tank in the background? It's very loud. Let us know. I had just returned home after spending the weekend with you and your family. And as soon as I got home, I went and looked at myself in the mirror and I told myself, she's the one. I knew I was going to marry her. I said I'm going to marry that girl. And I did. I put a ring on it.
So from there, I mean, really, we just enjoyed dating. It wasn't a long time that we dated. But
5 months.
No, we were engaged in there.
Oh, yeah. Man, from our first date to when we got married was 5 months.
It sounds so much crazier
than it felt. How long were we engaged?
We enjoyed dating. We would drive back and forth on the weekends. Ryan came to me a lot because I had the dogs and my chickens, and so it was a little harder to leave, but he would drive 2.5 hours late Friday night after work, and he would spend the night at my neighbor's. Shout out to Sue and Scott. Thank you so much. That was so helpful.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah. So Ryan would stay with them and then come and we would hang out during the weekend. We would go to church together and hang out with friends and
go out to eat, go shopping. Going to church was one of my favorite things. Fast forward a month or two, and I wanted to ask her dad for his blessing to marry her. I got the go-ahead. He gave me a really sweet talk. My now mother-in-law helped me find the perfect ring. Check this out. This is how I got her size.
It's kind of cool.
She wore a purity ring on her ring finger, and I didn't know how else to get the size, so I was kind of like playing with her purity ring while we were watching a movie, and I just kind of slipped it off and kind of nonchalantly looked at it, kind of played with it, and then I came up with an excuse to go to the bathroom. I got this little clear plastic container with a screw-off lid, and I had Play-Doh packed in it. I grabbed her purity ring, I stuck it in there to get the imprint, and I put this back in my pocket like a spy. On Valentine's Day, that was the day I decided to ask her to marry me.
Y'all, I had such a bad attitude, and I feel so bad looking back because I had no idea. I remember asking my mom, like, oh, do you think he might propose? And she's like, no. She was like shutting me down. So like, okay. And Ryan had set up, he told me, he's like, hey, like, let's see if your parents will come to Iowa and we can have dinner with both our parents and us together on Valentine's Day. And I said, oh no, like, my parents aren't going to do that. It's a, 2.5 hour drive for, actually, is it 2.5 hours or 3? 2.5 hour drive for them. I was like, they're not going to want to do that. And he's like, well, see if they'll get a hotel. I'm like, they're not going to get a hotel just to come have dinner with all of us. I was like, no. And he's like, well, just try. And I'm like, okay. So I called and they said yes. And I remember being like, what? Like, okay, sure.
I had it all planned.
Yeah. And so we're like sitting down for dinner. And I remember telling him like earlier that day, like, man, like, our first Valentine's together, and like here we are sitting eating with our parents.
And we were house hunting too, so we were like all going and looking. Mm-hmm. She was planning to move to Iowa to be closer to me.
We were looking at houses earlier that day, but I was kind of bummed that we were going to be eating with our parents and not going on like just a date with just the two of us. Looking back, knowing that he was planning to propose, one of my dreams had always been to have my family there to celebrate. So that was really sweet that he knew that. Didn't you say my sister told you that?
She did. Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks, Caleb. But we had finished dinner, and then Ryan and I were gonna be driving 2.5 hours back to my apartment, and he would stay in Scott's house, and then the next morning leaving for my grandma's bridal shower. So it was like gonna be a long night, so we were gonna head home, and I was super tired, so I was like, all right, let's go.
Where I wanted to propose was a place we call our dark spot. It was an area out in the country, surrounded by cornfield, and it was one of the darkest spots around. And you could see a lot of stars. And in that same spot, it holds some significance to us because that's where I first asked her to be my girlfriend. In which I really struggled in asking you. And then that was also where our first kiss was.
Mm-hmm. So it held a lot of good memories, and it was such a beautiful place to go. I loved all the stars, and it just was special to us both.
So I was trying my best to push her to say, hey, let's go out to the dark spot real quick. Just come on, let's go out. And she's like, no. It's cold out. Let's just get on the road. It's been a long day, and we got to get up early tomorrow. We still have to drive 2.5 hours to Illinois. And so I'm like, oh, come on, please.
I was not having it, y'all. It felt like, I think wasn't it like, with wind chill, it felt like -20 or something like that.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
Insane. Like where it like hurts to breathe. I was like, no, I'm out. We got a long drive. I have zero desire to get out.
So she gave in. She said, all right, fine. So we start heading that way. I had this like all planned. I taught my brother how to film, like how to film professionally with a gimbal and with professional audio and professional camera gear. And I trained him 2 weeks in advance, and so I already had my microphone tucked into my shirt and the remote turned on, so when I come within distance of my brother at the dark spot, he would catch my audio. So I'm trying to like fiddle with my remote, trying to turn it on halfway into our drive to the dark spot.
He was acting so weird, you guys. So we're driving. He had a stick shift car, and he randomly just pulls over in the middle of the country, and he's like, you drive, and he jumps out, and he's like dancing around, like trying to be something. He's like, look in the sky over there. So I'm like, what? And I'm looking. I had no idea what he was doing. It was the weirdest thing, but like it just seemed silly. Like I really had no idea, and I honestly was like, I don't want to be doing this right now. I still did not. I was like, it's cold. I can shut the door.
So I get the mic turned on. I get back in the car. I'm like, okay, I'll keep driving. And I actually I had some your favorite songs picked out on my Bluetooth.
And
so I started playing some of the songs. Yeah, like our song, and I played those songs on the way there to make the moment extra sweet.
Yeah, I just thought he was being sweet on Valentine's Day.
So I pull the car over at the dark spot, and I'm convincing her to get out because it is so cold. It's blowing wind. There's hard, icy snow on the ground.
I was not planning on getting out. Like, I was like, haha, no, it's not happening. Like, love you, not getting out the car. Like, this is great. We'll look from in the car.
And I convinced her to get out. And so a game that we played the first time we were at the dark spot, where when I asked her to be my girlfriend, we played a game where we spin around.
You stare at a star, and you spin around, and then someone shines a light in your eye, and then like you can like fall down. It's crazy.
And I wanted her to do that, and I was gonna catch her, and she's like, "No, you won't." I'm like, "Trust me, I will. I promise I'll catch you." Meanwhile, while I'm trying to convince you, my brother is around some hay bales, hiding. He's been out there for a long time, waiting for me. Poor Trey.
Sorry, Trey.
With my camera gear, but we're all synced up. Audio is like connected to him, and so he's waiting by the cornfield. And you're like, "What if the farmer sees us and comes and yells at us. And
I was getting I was like, this is somebody's land, and here we are, just like pulling on the side of the road, like kind of standing on the side. It was like cornfields.
But it's
looking.
definitely not the first time we've done it.
I know. I was like, what if he comes out and it was so cold? So I'm like doing this game that Ryan's wanting me to do. I'm like spinning around, looking at a star, and here I am thinking, I'm gonna land in snow, or this farmer's gonna come out yelling at us, and I'll just fall over. And as I'm spinning, all of a sudden I'm like starting to get really dizzy, and I see someone out of the corner of my eye that I didn't think was Ryan, and it scared me so bad. I seriously thought it was the farmer, and I was like, and that's when Ryan said stop, and I turned around and he was on one knee, and he asked me to marry him. It was so sweet. Honestly, like, I don't remember much of what you said, which is so bad, but
I said, Kirby Elizabeth Broderson, I love you so much. Will you be my wife?
I couldn't believe it, and I felt like I was so giddy and so excited. And then Trey was filming, and we ended up driving back to his parents' house, and everyone was there. My family did not go back to the hotel like they said they were. They were there with flowers, and we all celebrated, and it was so exciting. Like, I remember we were like telling everyone what happened, and we had the film, and it was exciting. But anyway, it was a really special moment. We have it on film. Let us know if you guys want to see that sometime. We were both so excited to be engaged, and it was so surreal.
I had never had a Valentine before you. And the first Valentine I ever had was my wife. Well, my fiance.
No, thanks. Actually, I think you're my first too.
Am I?
Are we lame, or is that
sweet.
cool?
I think it's romantic, right?
We'll go with that. So soon after we got engaged, I found a rental house that was cheap and would allow my dogs. At the time, Muscatine, Iowa had a ban on pit bulls, so I could not be in town. It had to be out of town with little Harlow. Yeah. So found a rental house and moved out of my apartment, which was kind of bittersweet. I loved my apartment. I had made it my own. I had a community in Freeport and friends and a church, so it was really hard for me, and definitely a transition.
You moved all your stuff, even your chicken coop with your chickens.
Yep, I have my
Here's a picture of me loading that up.
So moved everything there, and I was living in the house. Ryan was still living with his parents, and we kind of started doing some wedding planning, and we originally planned a 300-person wedding. It was the dream wedding with all the little details I always dreamed of as a little girl, and things that we liked and wanted to do together. But unfortunately, due to COVID, it was where things kind of first took a hit. Places were only allowing like 10 people together at one time. A lot of rules, things were shut down. Thankfully, we hadn't put deposits down on anything, so we didn't lose any money, thankfully. Our wedding went from that original 300 down to 12, and that was basically the bare minimum. It was supposed to be...
Actually, it was no more than... We weren't supposed to have more than 10.
Right. Well, it was right before they, like, made that a rule, but they were, like, talking about it. It was supposed to be my parents, my sister, and my one set of grandparents. And then it was your parents, my brothers, girlfriends, and both sets of grandparents. It had to be in Iowa because people's work, families' work was putting restrictions on travel. It was hard. Our wedding... It's something that we hold. It was very special, and there's things I think because it was small that were more special than it might have been if it was big. But there definitely is still a level of grief. I think maybe more so that I have that we do hold because it was not what we originally wished for. But looking back, I mean, it was a year before things were somewhat normal, and even then some people weren't coming out, so I don't even think it would have looked like what we wanted if we had waited. So
God had a plan.
Yep. We found a little church literally down the road from the rental house. It was a beautiful, like, small little white church.
Y'all, this was literally God. This wedding got planned in
2 weeks. We were trying to get something planned before they made it that only 10 people could be at a place at one time.
And in 2 weeks, we got this whole wedding planned. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And was it 2 or 3 days before we didn't even have a place to get married at? Churches weren't allowing more than 10. Nowhere was, actually.
Yeah.
And we were on our way out of town to go shopping for the wedding with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And the church we would often drive past that you had frequently said, oh, that'd be cute to get married there.
It was
This
like
one-
abandoned. Like they didn't use it. It was just an abandoned
One-room church, white church, in the middle of a cornfield, on the side of a gravel road. We just decided to stop by and just see if the doors opened.
Realistically, my mom's like, go see if the door is open. You should just go in and look. And so my mom and Ryan were like trying to break into a church. And I was like, we are going straight to hell. We're trying to break.
We proceeded to go out of town to shop. No luck with the church. Later that day, I got a phone call from my mom saying, hey, your grandpa knows a guy who owns that one white church that you've...
It's right by your house, the rental house. We found out who had actually owned the church. We got a hold of him and he allowed us to have our wedding there. It was so beautiful inside and they allowed us to have the 12 people. Unfortunately, my grandparents were unable to come because of work restrictions, so it ended up being less than the 12. But we had a beautiful wedding and we did a small little reception at our rental house, and my mom worked really hard and made a delicious meal for us. It was so good. It really was a beautiful, beautiful day. We had fun with family, and some of my friends that I had asked to be bridesmaids that weren't able to be because the restrictions had recorded videos and sent them to Ryan, so he was able to play those for me or for everyone at the reception that we had, and that was really nice. And someday, maybe for our 5-year anniversary, we want to do a vow renewal at the pretty place in South Carolina. It is gorgeous there. Sorry if you see a dog, but Tobias is apparently going to lay on the couch now. So really, that's kind of how it happened. I mean, honestly, it sounds so crazy to look back that in 5 months, like, we first met and then got married, but in the moment it felt so long, driving back and forth on the weekends. And
so our story happened really fast and we wouldn't change anything. It was totally God. Mm-hmm. And we felt so comfortable from the beginning, and our just the way things happened just aligned perfectly, and God made that happen, and we felt that. We felt his presence in that. We knew it was him. Mm-hmm. We knew getting married was the right move.
Yeah.
And we knew we wanted to start a family together, and here we are.
We know that marriage is a choice and that it's to choose to put the other person first every day. And there are definitely days that is difficult, but I think we knew that going in, and
it's choosing to love one another.
Yep.
It is.
Yep. But it's been amazing, and we're so thankful to be on this journey together. Thanks so much for watching.
It's been a year, y'all. And I'm saying y'all because now we're in the South. I can't even remember what we're talking about.